Hello, everyone. I'm Hyejin Kim. I'm a strategic market insights analyst focused on the energy transition at Greene Tweed. Today, we're going to talk about two critical pillars of the energy transition: carbon capture, utilization and storage, or CCUS, and hydrogen. And I'm joined by Philippe Allienne, a business development manager at Greene Tweed, who works closely with the customers across these two markets. Philippe, welcome, and glad to have you here today.
Hello, Hyejin. Great to be here. I'm really excited to talk about these two markets that are quite dynamic these days.
Oh, yeah, they are in there. So let's dive in. And then we'll start with the CCUS market first, and then I'll prompt our conversation with this question to you. What has been driving the CCUS market momentum?
Well, there are actually multiple factors that contribute to create this positive environment in CCUS. The regulatory landscape, I think, is a major one. In the US, for instance, you have the 45Q tax credit. And last year, the tax credit for EOR, enhanced oil recovery, and CO2 utilization has been increased from $60 to $85 per ton of CO2 captured. So that's a pretty good incentive. And also the 12-year duration of this incentive has also been preserved. So this is really creating a pretty stable environment for investors to look at the CCUS market. So that's one contributor. Another one that we could mention is the emergence of hubs or clusters, where you will have a common infrastructure that will be created. And this infrastructure will be handling the CO2 that will be coming from multiple sources. So it could be a refinery, a power plant, or a cement plant, for instance. That's pretty good because that will be reducing the individual project risk and also the capex. A good example, I think that you're very familiar with, is Northern Lights hub in Europe.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you about the supporting regulatory landscape in the market, and the US is not the only country that provides those incentives, as we know.
Yes.
And then, yeah, to me, the Northern Light project is a good example of where the CCS market is heading, which is a full value chain integration from capture, the storage, transport, and the storage of the carbon that's captured from those industries. And according to this data source, in fact, there is a 207 potential CCUS hub that's been identified across the 56 countries. That's really significant number of the projects that we are talking about here. So to me, this signals that the market is entering a phase of the structural tailwinds, and the hub-based development of the CCS market is definitely driving it. Yeah, so we just talked over there just like a key, some of the growing momentum for the CCS market. We cannot not talk about the headwinds of the CCS market as well. And then we're expected to continue to see, and then it will be slowing down the large scale development that we are hoping to see. So could you comment on that?
Oh, yes, sure. The first one that comes to my mind is really the high upfront capex. It's pretty expensive, to capture CO2, and companies could be hesitant to invest in such infrastructure without a good incentive. So that's one issue. We could also mention technology and scale-up challenges, infrastructure bottlenecks, for instance. And what is interesting is that you will find these challenges also in the hydrogen market. You're doing a lot of market studies, you're very familiar with this market, and I think that's something that you notice as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We see those like a similarity in terms of the challenges between these two markets. That's very interesting. And I would like to add another issue that comes to my mind, which is the regulatory and permitting landscape. Both CCUS and the hydrogen projects often face like multi-year permitting timelines. And then also another adding point on top of that is inconsistent regulatory frameworks across the regions. And then so those two combined together makes it even harder for any industry leaders to move the projects from the pipeline into the actual market growth. And then for particularly hydrogen market, I think the demand is like still a big question mark here. And then improving the offtake commitment is the crucial to drive the market growth, particularly those traditional hydrogen buyer, the refining and chemical industries.
Yes, and in fact, if you look at the hydrogen demand, not every market are expected to grow the same way. In the short term, so in 2026, for instance, we really expect some market like city bus networks or genset for power data centers in the US to take off. So these two markets are clearly in a positive trend. There are some other markets like trucks or FCEVs, so fuel cell electrical vehicles. They will only be successful in some countries like Japan and Korea because there's a huge cost to build the infrastructure. We also hear a lot about the maritime transportation in the medium term, and also, but that's more in the longer term, aerospace. So in any cases, all these markets, they will require a massive investment in technology and innovation, and that will really enable to reduce the overall cost and also to scale up the industry.
Yes, I completely agree with you on the technology and innovation that needs in the market to move forward. But in fact, I see like a lot of activities going around improving this technology that's needed for the market growth. And another thing that I want to add is the hydrogen hub that's under construction at the port of the Rotterdam. I think that is a great milestone that's adding the momentum for the hydrogen market, despite the some challenges that we just discussed too. And then, I still see a lot of investments coming through. Project announcements are coming in left and right, kind of like a daily basis when I see the news article. But I also see a lot of cancellations at the same time. So we definitely see some mixed signals around hydrogen market, definitely.
Could not agree more.
Yeah. So, okay, let's switch our gears. So you're a business development manager for these two markets that we just talked about, and that you frequently engage with the customers in this space. So could you tell us about what's the most common underlying technical challenges that you have noticed from the market? Also, customer share with you on that point.
Yes, sure. In both CCUS and hydrogen, the environment is really quite challenging. If I give you a few examples, in hydrogen storage and refueling stations, the pressure is really, really high, temperature is low. You will face extremely cold temperature when you're handling liquid hydrogen, minus 253 degrees C. Or you will face very, very corrosive environments in CO2 sequestration. So understanding material behavior when exposed to CO2 and hydrogen in such difficult environments is absolutely critical. You could have many problems that could arise, like hydrogen permeation. Hydrogen is such a small molecule. It will permeate everything. It will permeate metal. It could create metal embrittlement. It will permeate elastomers, and you will have some rapid gas decompression issues. CO2, you also have a lot of problems. CO2 sorption, where CO2 is absorbed in elastomers or plastics, for instance. That's something that could create RGD issues again. You could also have some plasticization of polymers and chemical degradation. So at Greene Tweed, we're really looking at all these problems, and we try to address the most challenging ones. If I could name a few, our R&D team is working on several very, very exciting projects. We're looking at increasing the lifetime of dynamic seals in reciprocating compressors for hydrogen that are really facing super high pressure, temperature in a very dry environment. We're also developing a lightweight composite impeller that will enable to compress pure hydrogen with a centrifugal compressor. And also, we are designing new type of seals using different materials to be used in liquid hydrogen. So very, very exciting projects that we're currently working on.
Yeah, I mean, those sounds all exciting. I'm also like monitoring those like progress with you. So it is exciting to share with our audience. And then also, it is exciting that the Greene Tweed transformed those like insights from the technical discussion with the industry into this like a potential solutions as well. Like in my personal opinion, the experience as well, I gain valuable market insights from the conversation at the trade shows that I attend with you usually and the sales team. And then I know there is an exciting annual plan around this trade show for you and for this market. So can you share more about that with our listeners?
Yes, of course. Actually, we will be exhibiting to 3 major events this year. The first one will be in March in Tokyo. We will be exhibiting at the Hydrogen and the FC Expo. And then in October, we have 2 events, one in Europe, in Hamburg, that will be the Hydrogen and CCUS Tech Expo. And the last one will be a CCUS event in Australia, GHGT 18.
Mm-hmm.
And all these events, as you mentioned, these are really the great place to really better understand the trends, the problems that our customers are facing. So we really encourage you to come to our booth and have a talk with us.
Yeah, I mean, you sound like you'll be all around the world across all these continents. Sounds like an exciting year for you.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Well, thanks for all the conversation. So to wrap it up, despite the challenges, we expect continuing momentum in both the hydrogen and CCS markets as they remain critical pillars of the global decarbonization. And at Greene Tweed, we continue to be the solution provider and innovator, helping our customers navigate these evolving markets. Thanks for joining me, Philippe. It was a great conversation. Thanks to everyone listening. If you're curious about anything in the CCUS and the hydrogen markets, let us know. We are happy to talk. Have a wonderful day.